And for those of you who don't attend Mass every week, I hope you do. This is your opportunity to, again, make that time to return to Mass, right? You're not going to find the time because you'll find excuses as well. Welcome back, everyone. We are looking back at this past week's Sunday readings and looking ahead to next Sunday's readings. We know that most people attending Mass don't look ahead to the readings they'll be hearing. So I hope you'll find our little show fun and useful, especially if you're looking to connect more to the Bible readings during Mass. My name is Vincent and my buddy's name is Roy. We've been friends since childhood and we both volunteer at different churches as lectors, or the guys who read at Mass. We'll offer our thoughts on the readings as well as share some fun stories about volunteering at church and everyday life. Okay, let's get started. All right, what's up with you this week?
Well, in all the business that we just talked about in the last podcast, I got COVID.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've been quarantining since Wednesday. I went back to work today, but at least during that time, I was able to clean up that package peak that I showed you. And things are still coming in. But this has technically been the mildest experience yet. I definitely felt horrible at times, but this is more like a cold. And I've had worse colds than this. I think it was the Paxlovid for any of those Bluey fans. I think that helped. Since it wasn't that bad, I ended up saying, okay, feel fine. I'm not coughing or anything. I'm going to go to Mass. The furthest one out, 7 o'clock, trying to reduce my infectiousness to others. So I was wearing a mask.
I hope you didn't get anyone sick.
I know, right?
Nice. We had a little barbecue at the park over the weekend with some family friends. My friend always gets really good meat at Chavez Mexican Market. So we had some really, really good tacos, which I haven't had in a while. I got to go to Chavez more often.
I keep hearing of the good meat at Chavez Market.
Dude, it's the best Mexican market out there. And we can get into K-pop Demon Hunters another day, but I watched that over the weekend too. That was super fun. And then now I realize that you watched it also. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get Roy into K-pop. He was gonna get to a Blackpink concert, VIP and everything. Twice is touring next year on their world tour.
Yeah, they sang.
Yeah, man, they're gonna add it to their set list. Shout out Jonghyun, Jiho, and Chaeyoung.
It was funny too when I was watching it, and Lila saw it. And he's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "I'm screening this for you." I kind of was, and I go, "Oh, I think she'll love this movie."
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Lorraine and Lila watch it. Lila just keeps singing that song over and over again, the Golden song.
Golden's a good song.
Yeah.
Golden's
What's your favorite song?
My Idol.
Yeah. Okay.
That goes pretty hard. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's sinister. It's a good bad guy song.
Because of doing this podcast, I'm always thinking of those themes and things, and picking out the patterns.
Yeah.
From that song. I'm like,
we will do a special podcast breaking down K-pop Demon Hunters from a Catholic perspective. It'll be fun. All right, speaking of patterns, let's get into it here before I run out of Zoom time here. Okay, first reading is from Genesis, where Abraham presses God on the question that if 50 righteous people were found in a wicked city, meaning Sodom and Gomorrah, would God spare that city? And God says yes, of course. Then Abraham presses him further, saying, let my Lord not grow impatient if I go on. What about 40 righteous people? What about 30 righteous people? 20, 10 righteous people, right? Would you still spare the city? And as you'd expect, God says yes. Now, spoiler alert, in the next chapter in Genesis, in case you feel like reading on your own, God and his angels wreck the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So a lot of gross violence in this section of Genesis, and if you read it on, you'll absolutely understand why. The psalm is Psalm 138, which goes, Lord, on the day I called for help, you answered me. The second reading, we're going into Colossians again, and this is a small snippet from a much larger text from St. Paul, but the main image we see here is that we are buried with Christ in baptism, but we are also raised with him. So Jesus is obliterating the bonds against us and nailing it to the cross. And finally, in the Gospel of Luke, this is where Jesus teaches the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, but the bulk of the story is about prayer and, a key word, persistence. Persistence. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door shall be opened. So that's all in the Gospel this week. All right, what do you have in terms of weaving these together in context?
So let's talk about the first reading. This is where Abraham bargains for Sodom and Gomorrah with God. The way I like you to think about this when you're reading is thinking of Abraham trying to find the boundary of God's mercy and to try to, and he's doing this, try to save his nephew Lot, who was in Sodom. And then on the other side, think of God as his father trying to encourage him. Yeah, let's find out how far I could go. Like, yeah, instead of him like, a bargain where I was just trying to think it, just like, keep going, keep going. So here's an example. So Lila loves reading with me at night. You know that we're reading The Hobbit. So it sucks when we don't read it. And I want to make sure she prioritizes her getting ready for bed. I don't want to sacrifice that for just the reading. It's like me saying, well, we haven't read in a few days and your cousin really wants to read it, so I'll just give it to her. She goes, well, before you do, can you spare like 5 minutes so we could finish the last page you're on? I'm like, sure, but you have to make sure that you get ready for bed 5 minutes before it's bedtime. And then she goes, well, if I skip dessert, should that buy me 10 minutes? I say, okay. And then she goes, okay, Dad, if I'm ready for bed 30 minutes ahead of reading, can we finish the book before you give it away? So I go, it's a deal. And then she goes, yes, with the fish woman, starts scarfing down her vegetables and starts cleaning up. And then I just eat my food like, oh yeah. So it's kind of like thinking of like that. So in the second reading of the Colossians, this letter is basically how Paul is trying to merge both the Gentiles and the Jews together. And he was trying to explain that the Christian movement is different from the idol worship of the Gentiles and the overt strictness and laws that the Jews are making to segregate them from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's where the Gentiles allow too much and the Jews has those really tough barrier of entry to get into. I would say you'd probably want to try to read it as Paul is trying to convince the Gentiles and the Jews that no matter whose side you're on, that Christ obliterates those rules and rituals that are separating the church from Jesus.
Yeah, there was so much back then, like, this is such an exclusive club mentality, where it's like, no, it's not that. Don't think of it that way. Yes, we are a quote-unquote people set apart, but we're inviting people in. All right, for the readings, what weaves the readings together for me is persistence, or a better word that I like, perseverance. Abraham was persistent in asking God about his mercy, and Jesus teaches us the Our Father and describes what? Persistence, right? Seek and you shall find, knock and it will be opened. And listen for that part in the gospel where a friend is knocking at your door and he keeps knocking and knocking, it's too late. Listen for that part of the gospel and how persistence and perseverance in prayer and asking God for what you need.
In the very end, it says, ask for the Holy Spirit. He will give you all of the Holy Spirit if you just ask. And like some of the things that you want is not the right thing that you need.
What was your look back to this past week's readings?
So looking back, I like to think of all the readings together as serving and sacrifice. So L&L, which is my affectionate name for both my wife and my daughter. So L&L went to Mass without me because they're always busy. That I was sick, I actually helped them out by not being such a burden. So they came home for brunch. During that time, Lorraine told me they had a little talk that Lila was distracted and being distracting. So long story short, I told her that my favorite phrase that I tell her was, do the important things first. So then I proceeded to ask her, what do you think is the most important thing in Mass? So we came to the conclusion that it was the Eucharist. Just like if we were eating, and again, that's my second most favorite thing I usually say here is ABC, meaning always be chewing because she's always being distracted and not eating. So here's my cardinal proposal to hinge it all together. So in the gospel, Jesus didn't reprimand Martha for serving because serving is important, because she wanted to take away Mary from the most important thing, which is Jesus, because she was all anxious about serving, not about Jesus. So she flipped the hierarchy. In the Abraham story, he's serving the Lord, where, they gather, they offer stuff to the Lord, and at the end, he blesses the family. The important thing in all these two stories is God. Abraham served all his choice things without reservations. He just gives it. In the gospel, it implies that Martha was overthinking things, as I tend to do a lot. And then prioritize the serving, right? Making sure everybody gets everything, everything's all nice, over the consumption of the word. So those are the ties that I see in the last two readings.
I actually read this past week and I swapped mass times with another lector. So I did the afternoon mass, which was kind of a nice change of pace, so I don't have to get up so early in the morning. And so looking back at the homily, my big takeaway was making time for God. A lot of times we talk about finding the time, but this is making the time. We don't fit in God where we can and when we can. We need to place God first, which is not unlike placing like work in our life, right? From like 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, it has to get done. Not unlike going to class if you're a student at this time. You have to go, right? Driving the kids at a certain time or meeting friends for your weekly whatever it is at this time. I have to do this. So you really make time for those things. And for those of you who don't attend Mass every week, I hope you do, this is your opportunity to, again, make that time to return to Mass, right? You're not going to find the time, because you'll find excuses as well. If you have the find the time mentality, you're going to have the find excuse mentality. Make the time. Now, if you attend Mass every week, when is your daily prayer? Do we make that time during the day? It's my rosary, it's my Bible reading time, that kind of thing. Do you actually set that aside?
In terms of getting a lot of stuff done within the time, a lot of people are like thinking like, how do so many people do so many things? Is because they see and schedule in the big, most important blocks of their time, and then they schedule everything around those. This is the first reading of...
So this is the tail end of the first reading.
Begin to grow more serious in tone as Abraham persists. Emphasize last time. The Lord agrees to spare the cities for the sake of 10 good people.
All right, lectors, listen up. If you're doing the first reading, this is the tail end of the first reading. Then Abraham said, "Let not my Lord grow impatient if I go on. What if only 30 are found there?" He replied, "I will forbear doing it if I can find but 30 there." Still, Abraham went on, "Since I have thus dared to speak to my Lord, what if there are no more than 20? The Lord answered, "I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. But he still persisted. "Please, let not my Lord grow angry if I speak up this last time. What if there are at least 10 there?" He replied, "For the sake of those 10, I will not destroy it." And that's the end of the first reading. Okay, how was it? I hope you got some positive takeaways from this. Leave your thoughts below in the comments, and don't just like and subscribe, but also click that share button and share this with your family and friends as well. Take care and God bless.
Something about, "I'm the only one who loves your sin."
That was like, so obvious. It was like on a silver platter. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, Catholics, digest that one.
You do like a watch party.